Welcome back to Mostly Superheroes, indie podcast, St. Louis, Missouri, on the airwaves. 5 years, 200-plus episodes. The stars are getting bigger, they're getting cooler, and this one has everything going on. Welcome to the studio the first time, Tim Convy, Ludo, stand-up, radio, and more. We got Andy, we got Scotty Scoop, and Tim, welcome, man. Holy shit, you're here. We did it. Big studio applause for you, man.
It took me 45 seconds into that sentence to realize that when you said star, you were talking about me, which I'm grateful for.
You're the star.
Like I said, I'm going to do my best.
You're the star. Andy heard you on live on the radio today. You're on all sorts of stuff. You're on the Courtney Show at 106.5 The Arch. We know that you're busy. You got shows coming up. And you're opening for Nikke Glaser, dude. Congratulations.
Oh,
Holy
yeah.
shit.
Yeah, thanks.
So, yeah, you're a big time. If you don't know you're a star yet, welcome to it. But I'll give it up for these guys, too. Scotty, welcome back.
What's up?
How are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty good.
Yep, doing okay?
Yeah.
And we'll sneak in Andy on this applause. You been all right?
Yeah, good vibes today. I'm excited.
What's on that shirt?
This is the Golden Bear. You know, Jack Nicklaus,
Oh, yeah.
best golfer of all time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, pretty much.
My wife got me this recently.
That's how popular he is in golf, is that I know about him and I don't follow golf.
Yeah,
So I guess he is pretty big time.
You got something.
Yeah, he transcends golf.
Yeah.
That's
Him
right.
and Tiger Woods. Only a handful. I would say maybe only those two, you could argue, have transcended golf where it's just like household names everybody knows. Arnold Palmer, certainly.
Yeah.
His work in the beverage game, unbelievable.
I think about like
Yes.
tennis and like Federer. Like that's the name that comes when I think of tennis. Is that still
Yeah.
the name or is it new names now? Do you guys even follow tennis?
I
Nope.
do. Alcaraz is the new guy that you got. I mean, Djokovic's been dominant because Federer's out. Nadal's pretty much out. Djokovic's the guy. But then this new kid, Alcaraz, is unbelievable. However, Novak just beat Alcaraz in the Olympics, so he got his first gold medal. So it's what they call the Golden Slam. He's won all the Grand Slams and a gold medal, which only a few people have done. Maybe 5 or 6. Serena Williams, obviously household name, who you know, and then 2 of them, Andre Agassi and Steffi Graf, married. 2 of the 5 people who've ever done this are married.
This is
That's
how you're a
crazy.
professional in radio right now. You are tuned in. We are now talking about the Olympics. We did
Yeah,
it. We're
I
relevant.
control it, yeah.
No, it's relevant.
Yeah.
Dude,
How about that
Yes.
breakdancing, right?
The breaking was
man.
so good. We actually got into it. That was awesome. And, got to shout out the patron pre-show today. Tim shared some behind-the-scenes stories from your career. You pay that $1 a month. You can get that early episode. Go check that out. And a special thanks to our sponsors in the Stigma, Team Jakey, Mental Health Advocates. Their big Gentleman Jake's Cornhole Tournament for a good cause on September 21st is right around the corner. And the Gramophone, best sandwiches in the world, honestly. I'm not even joking. I say that all the time because best in St. Louis always comes around. These are the best sandwiches in the world. And Tim, this is our subject matter today, man. I usually build
I want to talk about breakdancing, but let's go ahead.
We can do both, okay? We can
Yeah.
do both because usually what I do with guests is I do work them into the program to where, everybody's got a lot going on. You have a ton going on. And including, I got to tease, you were supposed to be here a few months ago.
Oh, yeah.
And you've had now, was this your third baby?
Second.
Second baby.
Second.
Congratulations,
Thank you.
you're a dad again.
Yes.
And it was the day that you were supposed to come
was
here.
it a Tuesday, March 26th?
And you texted. It might have been.
I can't believe I texted you.
I know.
Your brain just goes completely
I've been
bananas.
there.
And I'm like,
These
I
guys
gotta
don't
text
know.
the podcast.
Neither of
right.
them have kids,
Oh,
but
okay.
I know. I'm with you. I
Yeah.
got 4.
I thought this basement was a little too fancy for there
Yeah.
to be children living in this house.
You think I have time to just hang all this stuff?
Yeah,
if I had a
yeah.
kid?
No, I know.
It's adding up now.
Yeah.
But congratulations again. No, that was it was funny from our side where I'm like, he actually texted me, guys. I couldn't believe that you texted me. I was like, he's got to be heading to the hospital.
What did I
to have
say?
His baby.
I gotta check
You're like,
this
hey, man,
out.
it was something along the lines of I'm sorry, my wife's in labor. I can't make it to your podcast.
Let me find this.
Dude, this is too real. It's too good. But everything.
Oh, so we must have been on a chain where I said, yeah.
Maybe. So how'd everything go? You got a new baby. What are your kids' names?
Great. So
your wife.
my wife's name is Emma. She's lovely. She's from Chicago. She lives here and it's great. And then my oldest son is named Timothy. He's the third. People are like, oh, after you, but it's like named him after
Keep
my
it going.
dad too. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's noble if you name your kid after your dad, but people think you have an ego if you name after you. But if it's both,
Your dad had the ego.
there's a
that's what
great yeah, exactly.
There's something about if you get going on it, it's fine. The third is fine. The fourth is fine.
Thank you.
Are you the junior?
I am the junior. Yes.
I ever call you TJ and you don't like it?
I tried that for a couple months at school, and I would just laugh whenever the teachers called me that, and it didn't
Stick.
it didn't take.
What about junior? You ever get that?
No, I mean maybe a couple people will jokingly
family or
call me
something.
Junior. Yeah, but nothing crazy. So the oldest is Timothy, and then Jack is the new guy. So Timothy's 2.5, and then Jack is almost 5 months, I guess.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Congrats. And
Thanks.
also I'm sorry. And like
Yeah,
I know that
no.
it's like the lack of sleep when there's a new kid around is like a big theme. We have a lot of friends that have had kids this past year even, so that's been the theme I hear. Is that adding up for you, or do you have a good sleeper?
It's pretty brutal. He's better than Jack is better than Timothy was. Timothy didn't sleep through the night until like maybe 7-8 months ago, like right before Jack showed up. So Jack is when they're just that new. No, it's just a thing. You're on guard. He was in our room. You know, you keep him in your room for the first few months. So he's out of our room now, which is a good thing. But yeah, it's not fun. They wake up and you know that alarm's going off for morning radio, and it can be a challenge. But he is great, and the whole thing was much more simple. My first son, it was all crazy emergency, like wild things happening at the hospital, and then this one was so like standard that it was weird. You know what I mean? Like the first one, it was like all the whole hospital staff like rushed into our room and they had to rush my wife away and do the emergencies. It was all like crazy and intense. And then this one, it was they're like cutting her open, being like, so what do you guys want to do for lunch today? And like Boca's not the same as it used to be. And I'm like, okay, this is how it's supposed to go. And then they just hand you that baby and you're just like, while they're stitching her back up.
Yeah, here, hold this for me.
Yes, and you're just in charge.
Yeah.
The thing's 30 seconds old. That's how it's supposed to be. But to me, that was so strange because our first was just so wild. And they have kind of been similar. Like Timothy is wild and crazy and all just even his first few weeks of life were a lot. And then Jack has been very, very easy. So all in all, everything's great.
Well, now let's travel back in time to how a lot of St. Louis people know you, and we'll let Scotty Scoop talk about this one a little bit because he's now as we've discovered, our resident Ludo fan, music fans that know about Ludo and listen to Ludo. Why don't you just share what's your experience with Ludo?
Way back, I would say maybe 2005, 2006 is when I started listening.
Awesome.
And countless shows. Countless.
You were telling me before the show, even you've been to the original shows, like back when they were doing their thing, but also some of the more recent shows.
Yeah, the Haludoweens for sure.
I'm glad you said it. I'm still working on saying that.
I know
clearly.
it's tricky. You got to Haludoween.
No, push people to say things.
Well, it's whatever.
I like it.
It is a absurd made up word, so if you mispronounce it, that is okay. But it is Haludoween.
Huge music career. You guys started your label yourself and pretty much managed the band yourself and did the grassroots, like, we got to focus and make this happen. At the time, I listened to some podcasts.
Oh,
with
cool.
you today, read the Riverfront Times article.
Oh, yeah.
With you. That was a great coverage, and learned a lot about you and your brother. But the band itself, man. So Ludo, why don't you just give us, like, how do you talk about Ludo in 2024? What's like? You got these shows that we're going to talk about, but what's your relationship with the band? You guys doing like other shows too that are just Ludo focused? What are you guys doing?
Yeah, so Ludo, we came together in 2003, and it was kind of what I did for like a decade. So we full time did that, toured all over the country, put 2 records out on our own, then signed to Island Records. And a lot of cool things happened. We had a top 10 alternative radio song. We played on The Tonight Show. We played on Jimmy Kimmel, festivals, Lollapalooza, all that, stuff. And then it all sort of, we stopped. We were on kind of different pages, and that was it. And then we kind of thought, okay, so that was 2012. We played our last show. And then in 2018, we did a reunion at the pageant for Halloween.
That's your venue.
That's
the venue, right?
That's the yes. That's our home. I mean, when we started, it was our first show ever in St. Louis was at Cicero's, and then we did a lot of Creepy Crawl, Mississippi Nights. We were part of kind of the last run there at Mississippi Nights, and then shifted to the pageant, and then that's kind of so when we ended, we were playing at the pageant. And then 18 did this reunion, and people always laugh at me, but genuinely, we didn't know how many people would be there, and but it sold out quickly. Added a second show, sold out quickly. So now it's become this annual thing: 3 shows, lots of production, all kinds of different openers, different set lists every night. And that's what we do. We've done other things. So we did a Ludo night at the ballpark with the Cardinals in 2022, which was awesome. We went and did a couple nights in Chicago at House of Blues. So we've done some things here and there, but for the most part, we focus on Halloween and then trying to get music out every now and then. So we've put a few songs out. This kind of Ludo 2.0 has put a little bit of music out. And so we work on that. Would love to get closer to making a record or putting out an EP, like a body of work instead of just, occasional songs. But, I think we didn't think it would ever sort of get back together again. So anything we can do is kind of cool. And the fact that people keep showing up and all these people who discovered us, after kind of the heyday and the song and everything is pretty cool. That young people show up having never seen us, and people who thought they'd never get to see us, and people come in, you can really only see us in St. Louis. So people come in from all over the world, like certainly coast to coast, but Europe, all that. And so it's just,
kudos on that setup.
Cool
like getting
thing.
people to come to you. Like that's the whole mindset here in
Yeah.
the studio.
Yeah.
Like just like, who can we get to come to us? Like
Sure.
it's nice, There's some, from an outsider looking in, researching Ludo.
Yeah.
It's fun, man. You bouncing around. You guys got some diehard fans. There's a really great Reddit thread out there about your band. And it's people just talking all about it. That's where I got the image of you can see it up here on your side, Tim. Same thing. You got your albums.
Yeah.
Listen here on CD. People sharing to some of those, looking familiar to you.
Yeah.
You mentioned your favorite song, Scotty.
Actually, my favorite album is definitely Broken Bride.
Nice.
Is that where the song's from? Love Me Dead.
Love Me Dead. No, that.
You can tell I'm a newbie.
You're doing great. Love Me Dead is from You're Awful, I Love You, which was
You're
the
Awful,
album
I
we
Love
put
You.
out in 2008.
And here's the real connection. Labyrinth. Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh man, what a movie! And your band is named after a character from the film.
Yeah, so Ludo is a big furry monster from the movie Labyrinth, which is an 80s movie with David Bowie and Jennifer Connelly and a bunch of Jim Henson creatures. It's a Jim Henson film. And we named the band after Ludo. Years later, one of my just the highest accomplishments is we got a cease and desist from the Jim Henson Company. So it's the letterhead with Kermit on it, because the original cover of that album, You're Awful, I Love You, has a monster on it that somewhat resembles Ludo. It's very different. So they send this cease and desist, all this stuff. So I wrote this whole dissertation about how different the monsters are, and spent all kinds, the tails and the texture of the fur, and if this is, that it's more similar to Monsters Inc. than it is to this and whatever. And I mean, they got involved with Island, and it all cost a bunch of money and everything else. But letterhead with Kermit on it, cease and desist from a very angry Jim Henson Company lawyer.
See, big time.
Awesome.
You're a star.
Well, that doesn't make you a star. It
makes you a criminal.
Yeah, it makes you a criminal. Yes.
Did you keep the letter?
It makes you a
Right,
copyright
frame
infringer. Our lawyer, this is on my sort of long-term to-do list, is to try to find it, because whether it's the actual letter or somebody must have a scanned something of it, because this passed around quite a bit. So I need to talk to the old Ludo lawyer and see if I can find that.
Well, this Labyrinth, I mean, Jim Henson, this is my style right here. I'm a big Dark Crystal fan.
Yeah.
I just like that, just the whole tone and everything, anything with Bowie around. So, kudos on the Ludo. That was accidental. I'm sure you've gotten that before. Talk to us about the Courtney show, dude.
Yeah.
Andy was listening to you on 106.5 The Arch this morning live. I was listening in my podcast app. You guys are super accessible, but Courtney's so fun.
Yeah, she's the best.
I think you've done this show for a while. Maybe started at Y98 with Courtney a while back, and then at one point you and your brother were doing the show with Courtney. Was your brother on the show too?
He's on it now. Yeah,
and he's on it now. Yeah, talk
yeah.
about
He comes and goes quite a bit because he's got a whole other career. But the show is mainly the four of us: Courtney, Brando, myself, and my brother Chris. I started radio 7-8 years ago. So it's I lived in New York for a long time. The band had kind of stopped. I lived in New York for a long time. Sort of in the music business. I was producing. I ran a small label and putting things out. And then there was a run in LA there, but basically we started doing stand-up 10 years ago, and then I had the opportunity to try radio. I worked on a station called Now 96.3, had a morning show there. There were mergers, and I ended up on the morning show on Y98 with Courtney. We were there for a couple of years. She then moved over to the Arch, hired my brother as her co-host. We were competitors for a little bit, and then when the opportunity came up, I moved over. So now I've been on the Courtney show on the Arch for a couple of years, and it's really fun. It's a
great show.
It's people.
It's a great show.
People I like, but people that are genuinely funny. I mean, we don't have to fake laugh at anything, which is rare on morning radio anyway. So it's fun. It's our own weird little silly thing, but yeah, we have a good.
Well, that's my question: is what do you love about doing radio? like now that you've been doing it 8 years, what is it that keeps you getting up at 6 a.m., which I think might have been a struggle for you as a late night.
Yeah,
it's
I'm early.
Sure,
I wish it
early
was 6 a.m.
Right, you're there way earlier.
Well, I'm lucky. I'm getting there about 6, but I'm open. Waking up earlier. So
yeah.
What I love about it, just funny. It's just laughing. I mean, a central part of your job is comedy, telling stories. And I really, really like those people that I'm in there. Working with my brother is awesome. Yeah. So just getting to laugh and having a place to a funny story, something funny you think of, having an immediate place to kind of share that and get feedback on it is cool.
Probably keeps your comedy sharp too. Like, all right, I got a question, let's have an answer. Like, it's like an improv. Radio's like improv sometimes.
Yeah, I think when I jumped into radio, I think I thought that the stand-up and the radio would relate a certain way, and it's a little different than maybe I thought, but certainly things I've said on the radio have made it into my act or just a topic or something.
I want to know, like, you listened today, Andy. Like,
yeah.
What were they talking about today? Were you get into anything?
I caught just like basically just news clips. Just I think Deadpool and Wolverine came up for a second there for about a minute, like
a lot of
2 seconds.
stuff.
And yeah, I mean, Courtney's voice has been one of my favorites on radio forever. It's just like
she's a legend.
I'm scrolling through like channels, and no matter what, it's like if she's talking, I'll stop because it's like, okay, I know I'm going to be entertained. It's just it's perfect. So.
Yeah, she was on Stephen DC back in the day, legendary Stephen DC, and just has had this kind of, and then Phillips and Company with Guy Phillips for so long, and yeah, she's the best.
Legend, also a star, Courtney, if you're listening, and this will be where we connect the dots to your comedy for sure, man. So let me get this right: your brother dated Nikke Glaser together,
dating,
they're together. Like this is how I'm not, I'm even bad with the stars of today. I don't follow the relationships, and I don't want to assume that. Who knows? They're still dating. How long have they been dating?
On and off.
Nice.
Rapidly.
I love the real answers.
Rapidly
on
and off. Yeah.
Because it's touchy to like get into people's like relationship stuff, but the long and short is Nikke told you that you should do stand up.
Yes.
Is that how it got started?
For me, yes, for sure. So they've been together. I mean, again, with some breaks for like 10 plus years. So when I was living in New York, like I said, I was in the music business and we would spend time. I was single at the time and would hang out with them, and I'd go on these dates and come tell them stories about my dates. And Nikke was like, "You should do stand up," and
when Nikke Glaser tells you you should do stand up.
Yeah, I found out later she tells basically everybody that. It's just when she's not paying attention to the story, she just goes, "You should do stand up."
Right. It's just really funny to watch you fail.
Yeah.
Her go-to.
But I took it to heart, and then when I ended up back in St. Louis, I tried it. I was still a little lost with the band not being around anymore, and I was like, it's not something I ever wanted to do growing up. I always say I wanted to do it the same way that I'm like, and I'd like to skydive someday too. Like that would be cool, but never had this like, I have to go do this. And did it the one time and was like, oh, this is whatever happens, this will be a part of my life for a long. So and she's been great, and I get to open for her, and she's taken me to Vegas. I open for her and David Spade next month, and
kidding me, dude.
It's so cool. I got to
Venetian
warm up for her special that's on the HBO special, which is we shot it in Seattle. It was amazing. So yeah, she's the best.
Someday you're gonna die.
Someday you'll die.
Someday you'll die.
Someday you'll die.
She slayed it. It was a huge week for her too, with the Tom Brady roast, and she's going around like just Nikke, just another St.
And we
Louis.
put out a song. The Brady thing took away some of our heat, but we at the end of Nikki's HBO special, there's a song called "Someday You'll Die." That's Nikke that I got to work with her on, and
I did not know this.
Yes.
Okay.
And the song is fantastic.
Did people get it? They can get to the
yes,
song.
Anywhere you get music,
look
look up Nikke Glaser.
Get out there.
Yes, and the song is called "Someday You'll Die," and it's incredible. It'll blow your mind that she can be as funny as she is, good at comedy, and then also be able to do what she can singing. So yeah, check out. So it was a big week. It was the whole run has been awesome. She's the best, and it's fun to watch.
So this is, I got the right date up here? Is this like your next show with her? Are you in September?
Absolutely not. I am in
it's September, I believe, right?
September 27th and 28th, or
nice.
26th and 27th, something like that. Las Vegas. Yeah. And then we were here, we did the Fox earlier this year here in town.
Right.
I was there.
Which is great. Oh, nice.
Yes, it was awesome.
So fun.
And you've seen Tim do some comedy as well.
Yeah, I saw him, I think it was last year with, or maybe even the beginning of this year, John Caparulo. up at the
Oh,
Funny
yeah.
Bone.
And you do the funny
I think that
bone.
was last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that was a while. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm up there
Yeah.
sometimes. And you
That
never
day,
know what's
that
gonna
day
happen.
she closed with a Tom Brady roast preview for everybody, and I've never heard people laugh as hard as that. And I was like,
Man.
we are in for a treat.
Yeah, so it was a few weeks before the Brady roast, the big Netflix thing, the Fox show was.
Yeah.
And so all those shows, you got to test out those jokes, and you only have so much time. So she did her set and then came out and started doing a lot of the Brady jokes, and just there was tons at that point because she's got to whittle them down. And it was my first time hearing a lot of them, and that's when I say this, but I looked at the people around me and I was like, she's going to be the thing people talk about from this roast. And it's exactly what happened. I don't think I could have guessed it went quite as well as it did, or just that she was so just dominant at that thing, and just the way it lined up, the way she went in order and everything else. Like
Right.
it was really, really special.
Brilliant writing. You could tell, like you said, she workshopped the set, like, oh, this is going to stay, this is going to go. Maybe this goes back here, this goes
Yeah.
here. Because it just felt like you're getting hit in the face with one joke after the other.
Yeah, I mean, she was the best. Well, people, I've talked about this, other people have talked about this too. Most of these roasts that we see you see the edited version, right? So all these Comedy Central ones that we're used to, and even the things back in the day that were on TV, they edit. So they help everybody out. They sweeten all of them, not only with laughter, but if you go up and you tell 10 jokes and 4 of them bomb, those 4 aren't making the broadcast.
Yeah, that's fair.
The fact is, most of these things, and I went to the Rob Lowe roast, and most of these things, Nikke crushes it and is that much more dominant than everyone else. But you don't know, because by the time it hits air, everyone else has kind of caught up to her because they've sweetened it a little bit. But this was cool because it was live and everybody got to go, oh my God, she's on another level.
Talk to us about, when you got a comedy show coming up, what's your prep look like? How you working? You writing? You doing you're workshopping it when you're doing your live stuff around here? Maybe Funny Bone.
Yeah.
Wherever you're going. What's your process look like?
I mean, it's for a particular show, it all depends. Like as you kind of go in a cycle, there's different goals. Sometimes you're like, I need a new 5 minutes, or you've got, it's always kind of a rolling process where you're like, that joke needs to get better, but it's pretty close. This is a brand new idea I have that I'm just going to throw out. And it's show by show, it depends. So we're still doing, open mics where you can workshop stuff and just get on stage, or I think I was probably doing a guest spot when you saw me with John Caparulo. And then, if it's my show, I'm headlining, or I'm the feature comic or something, you kind of want to deliver. Like you want to do as well as you can. So maybe the new stuff you wait on and you kind of try to find a rhythm. So I don't know. You're always kind of working on different stuff and hoping that you're constantly replacing, average jokes with better jokes and still reaching for kind of new. That makes sense.
I'm just about ready to move to the next topic, but like these questions are coming up. Like,
yeah, comedy. That's
who do you look up to? Who inspires you as
comedians?
Yeah.
I mean, my two like mentors and like just the biggest influences on everything are total opposite ends of the spectrum. But Nikke and Greg Warren are the two people that kind of like I said, that I look up to the most and probably get influenced for the most and all that.
Drawn to and like you just like.
For sure,
and
you're
busting up,
and they couldn't be more, different. So it's, and I'm proud of that too. It's cool. And then, like Mulaney, Chappelle, Chris Rock, I've always said is my number one.
Hell yeah.
Those are the big 3 for me.
Hey squad, Logan here from Mostly Superheroes, wanting to talk to you today about some real life heroes. Team Jakey, headquartered here in St. Louis, Missouri. They're turning the tragedy of losing their beloved Jake Zeller into life-changing action. Not just by making a difference, but by saving lives. Team Jakey supports both the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention and Provident Behavioral Health here in St. Louis. Join us at their annual Gentleman Jake Memorial Cornhole Tournament. It's more than just a game. It's a community coming together to lift each other up with some of the world's best prizes. If you're feeling down or know someone who is, Team Jakey's here with a message of hope. Reach out by calling 988. You can also visit www.afsp.org or text TALK to 741-741. You're not alone, and there's always a way forward. Someone's waiting for your call or text message. Search for Team Jakey on Facebook and learn more at www.mostlysuperheroes.com/give. Every bit helps, and together, we can make a difference. If you listen to the podcast, you know that before and after the show, when we're hungry or craving some beers or some live music, we usually end up at The Gramophone in the Grove here in St. Louis, Missouri. It's our spot for the best sandwiches in St. Louis, like the epic classic The Jive, stacked with roasted turkey, thick-cut bacon, Swiss, lettuce, tomato, avocado spread, and pepper mayo on a toasted baguette. Don't skip the sides. Nothing beats Big Willie's homemade mac and cheese. It's the sidekick that never, ever lets you down. Plus, with daily specials, there's always something new to celebrate. So come join us at 4243 Manchester Avenue, St. Louis, Missouri, 63110 at The Gramophone, and tell them that Mostly Superheroes sent you. Visit www.gramophoneSTL.com for their full menu and more. The Gramophone, where heroes hang out. Whether you're visiting or live here in town, Fortuna Games is your go-to spot for tabletop gaming in St. Louis. Located at 2632 South Kings Highway Boulevard, right across from Tower Grove Park. Fortuna Games offers Magic, Pokemon, Lorcana, board games, supplies, and more. Open Wednesday through Saturday. Visit online at fortunagames.net or find them on Facebook and Instagram. You can also call 413-367-8862 or email fortuna@fortunagames.net. And remember, tell them Mostly Superheroes sent you. We got pretty cool ads on this podcast, I'll give us that. However, you might be like me when it comes to certain content, and I just don't want the ads. As little as $1.99 a month, you can get ad-free content from Mostly Superheroes. That's right. Patreon, Apple Podcast, Podbean, all of these channels offer ad-free versions of our episodes coming out early, including the patron pre-show, the show before the show. Open up Patreon, Apple Podcast, or Podbean, or go to mostlysuperheroes.com/support to learn more. Thank you for supporting your favorite independent podcasts. Mostly Superheroes Indie Podcast has a slate of upcoming titles, interviews, and topics ready for our listeners and fans, and you could reach our audiences. Your brand, professionally recorded ad. Hear our voice, our crew record an ad in your style and make your brand heard on Mostly Superheroes. Find out more at mostlysuperheroes.com/sponsor. I want Scotty Scoop to explain Halloween to all of us, and I want Tim to check your work.
Oh, man. So think of like the most fun Halloween party you could go to. You dress up, and then thousands of other people are there, also dressed up, and you all just rock out to great music.
That's my question: is the music? What's being played at Halloween? Is it is it just a mix of your songs, or what is it?
The hits,
Halloween music.
The hits.
It's Ludo.
It's
It's
Ludo.
a Ludo
Ludo,
concert.
yeah.
It's a Ludo concert still.
Yeah.
Like, this is the outsider looking in. You're convincing
Yeah,
people
yeah.
that are on the fence about this show to go like, hey, maybe I'm not the diehard and I want to go.
I mean, if you're on the fence, you don't have to go.
You already.
We're fine.
You're like, I'm not going to try to convince you.
I mean,
all right, so this is
it's
professional fans here that fan out about their fandom. So, like, you guys got to fan out about it right now.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, much of Ludo's catalog is very Halloweenish anyway. So it lends itself to doing kind of a Halloween show. So we'll do some fun covers, but it's mostly stuff that we've always done. I mean, again, if even if you saw us in May somewhere, like, you're still getting Halloween vibes. It's a part of what we do. There's other vibes too, but certainly that's a part of it. So it just makes sense that we do that. People come, they get dressed up. We do different themes. We've always done different themes since we've started in all kinds of different cities. But yeah, we've leaned into this Halloween thing. So it's sometimes we'll tell a story throughout the 3 nights. Sometimes, there's a lot of theatrics. Even if you're not familiar with Ludo music, it is a great way to go and just feel like, yeah, I celebrated Halloween. I went deep. I got it.
Yeah. Last weekend, right there by Halloween, October 25th, 26th, 27th. Who's doing your artwork for this poster? This is really cool.
Artwork is always great.
Oh, thanks. That's a guy named Dan Wade. Dan Wade is one of the openers, actually. So Dan Wade is a very talented musician in a band called Treaty of Paris that we toured with many years ago. Often, he's based in Chicago, and he now does stuff like that. In addition to his music career, does this. He does all the art for Riot Fest up in Chicago, which is one of the coolest things in the world.
Yep.
And he does our stuff, and he kills it. Does a great job.
Well, get out to the pageant, man. I mean, no better way to celebrate Halloween. You just described like a Halloween party out of the movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's like a movie Halloween party where the band's just going, and it's not just one big night. It's 3.
It is, and it's also like people. I mean, I think fans enjoy spending time with each other more than they even do seeing the concerts, especially people traveling from all over. Like there's just the kind of culture that's been created almost completely out of our hands where, there's just meetups and different things that go on throughout that weekend where all these people only get to see each other kind of that weekend. And, we've done a bunch of we've done Labyrinth sing-alongs, we've done comedy shows, we've done trivia parties, escape rooms, everything you can think kind of right down at the Loop. We sort of consume it that weekend, and there's plenty to do. It's really fun and great openers every night at different artists from all over, and they're fantastic. I'm really proud of that.
All right, now talk to the diehard fans. What can they look forward to? Any surprises in store for people that maybe think they know what they're going to expect?
Oh yeah, yeah. There's something we're unveiling shortly that is gonna be awesome. I don't want to say too much, but yeah, dabbling with some things we've never done before.
Just doing that alone, I was like, I gotta be there.
Yeah, you gotta be there. You really do gotta be there. There's. I always say this about Ludo, but it's true. If we pull off half of the things that we're talking about, it's still gonna be incredible. And that's usually about what happens. We kind of we're like, what if there were jets flying around? And then we land not quite there, but it's still, I think, pretty spectacular.
You heard one of the sponsors of the show today, Team Jakey. They actually bring in a helicopter.
Really?
Yes, it reminds me of, I guess, like El Monstero. They bring that chopper.
Oh, in there, yeah.
So you could probably, I'm just saying, it's well within reach for you guys to bring in some air vehicles.
Yes. Monstero goes hard with theirs. So it's impressive.
We had Randy Nolge on the podcast from the pageant, and he talked about like the first time they brought a trampoline, the very first time, and he said like you can't bring this in, but they eventually got the trampoline in there. So if you ever see El Monstero, you know what we're talking about. Okay, this is another teaser. I don't think you guys have like maybe even formally announced this, so we'll call it breaking news on Mostly Superheroes. And this is what Julie brought. Our friend Julie Lally. We talked about getting you on the pod, and she was like, "There's a lot of things he does that you'll be into." This one really got me. Punk Rock Christmas. Talk to us about where it started and where it's at.
Yeah, okay. So years ago, in fact, I recently found the notebook where I first wrote it down, and this was 5 years ago or something, 5-6 years ago. I just thought, I don't know, I love punk rock. I love Christmas music. I also, you see how cool El Monstero is and some of those other things. We have such a cool local scene here, and it's got the support of venues like the Pageant in Del Mar Hall. It's got the support of radio stations like KSHE and the Arch and the Point, and you can kind of build something. And so I just thought it would be cool, and I went to my good buddy Moon is in Greek Fire and Goldfinger. He was in Story of the Year, and I was like, I got this idea. Someday we should do this. And he goes, oh no, we're doing this year. And we immediately started like filling out the band and saying how we were going to do it. And then next thing I know, we're doing it. We did Del Mar Hall. And then it expanded. We were 2 shows, whatever. So now last Punk Rock Christmas was at the Pageant. This year we're doing 2 shows at the Pageant. And it's so fun. It's all your favorite Christmas songs that the old classics, the hymns, the new ones, and it's punk, alternative, ska, all that stuff. And it's this super group. I mean, but if you look at kind of the resumes of things that we've done, this isn't like a bar band cranking through stuff. These are guys that have all done some pretty cool stuff. And just big production. Some of the same guys that help with the Ludo stuff and the Monstero stuff. And it's a blast. And we do a family matinee show. So it's a 3 p.m.
Oh, wow.
where you can bring the kids. We keep the volume fairly reasonable for those shows. And it's a blast. So we have Punk Rock Christmas, and then we do Punk Rock Disney. Can You Feel the Punk Tonight?
Right.
It happens every spring. But
that definitely caught our attention as well. We got Disney movies here. Yeah. We love them. And you guys do. So, yeah, we all, like my, whenever I, like, what does this remind me of? The punk, Punk Goes Rock. Have you ever heard of Punk Goes? It's like just that style, bringing that punk to these traditional. Some of them, maybe not traditional, but just mixing it in.
Yeah.
You have dates yet for this one in December?
Yeah, it's Saturday, December 7th, I think, at the pageant. Again, 2 shows, the family matinee and then the evening show. Special guests, we have the whole full horn section. It's pretty cool. And it like if you're just a punk rock fan, Christmas music fan, like come, it's awesome. You see some of the best musicians in St. Louis. But in terms of bringing your kids, people are always so grateful, even having kids now and going to some of the stuff, you just have to deal with it. You just have to be patient. You go and you're like, all right, my kid had a good time. But this is something you can genuinely like enjoy, and it's awesome, but it's family friendly. It's not cheesy. It creates a good night.
I want to say thanks for doing both, because we got, you got 3 kids?
Four.
Four
daughters. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. So many. You want to have kids.
Yeah.
We probably won't. And it's about, I like the both mentality. Sometimes
Yeah.
people just lean in one way. They'll go away from one side. So kudos on doing both.
Yeah, it's important to me, especially now having kids, and it's like it's not hard. Like, you can
That might
still-
affect your decision making.
Yeah,
a
you
little
think
bit.
about it more, but it's like the the important stuff about big rock shows and stuff doesn't necessarily have to be the price out kids or anything like
Mhm.
that, and you also don't have to be cheesy. Like guess what? A drum kit and an electric guitar is awesome by itself. You don't have to do anything cheesy or anything. Music affected me in a major way at a very young age, and I don't know. There's something to it, and I'm proud of it. We have a good time.
Have you done this one, Scotty?
I have not done this one.
But I know it's caught your eye right
yeah,
now.
absolutely.
Especially the big push, I would say, for families with kids.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
there's got to be a Santa there.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's like a
Yeah.
rock in Santa.
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
could we do pictures with Santa and the band. Santa comes out and plays guitar on a song, just rips
Yes.
on guitar.
I want like an open suit Santa. Just
it's
Yeah.
maybe
maybe not for the kid show. I don't know.
you would not be disappointed. It's pretty rocking.
All right, man. Let's get into some nerdy
right.
stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, you've plugged yourself. Hopefully that wasn't too exhausting, but we needed to hear.
I know
from
it
you.
always. I come on these things, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, he's a comedian, and then I just end up. It's like I have shop talk mode, I have business mode, and
Uh-huh.
I have funny mode, and I always just shift gears. But other people do it too. I interviewed Kevin Hart. This was so validating for me. I interviewed Kevin Hart for the radio one time, just a call in. He was coming to town, and this is Kevin Hart. This is one of the funniest people alive. And I asked him about, you played the funny bone back in the day. You were insane. I kind of went sort of that direction, and he just went in just exactly what I've been doing now, where he's like, and then I do this, and the fans, and the blah, 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 like not funny at all. It was great. It was really interesting, and I love that stuff. But like Kevin Hart has that same gear, so I felt a little bit.
Yeah, and I know it's like we do very much, especially whenever we look at like a time frame. We're like, we do end up with like radio spots essentially, where we're like, we just want to hear about the stuff that you really got going on, but we also want to hang out with you.
Yeah.
Let's hang out
Yeah.
right now, okay?
Yeah.
This was like a personal thing I'm hoping that you sent me that I have never heard of before.
Yeah.
They're called Toby mugs.
Oh yeah.
Maybe Toby jugs. Big shout out to Wikipedia, the open source internet machine.
Mm-hmm.
A Toby jug, also sometimes known as a fill pot with an F or a fill pot with a PH. A pottery jug in the form of a seated person.
Oh yeah.
We got the great graphics if you're watching us on Spotify or YouTube as only the head of a recognizable person.
Yeah.
Typically, the seated figure is heavy set. A jovial man holding a mug of a beer in one hand and a pipe of tobacco in the other, and wearing 18th century attire, a long coat and tricorn hat.
Yeah.
The tricorn hat forms a pouring spout, often with a removable lid, and a handle is attached to the rear.
Yeah.
Jugs depicting just the head and shoulders of a figure are referred to as Toby jugs. Although these should strictly be called character jugs or face jugs, the wider historical term. We might talk a little bit more about this. The questions, I'm sure, are just sprawling out of these two right now. They're sprawling out of me. And you told me in text message that you own the ones that you sent me here on the right, upper right.
That picture,
Is that
yeah.
your collection?
No. That was just
Are-
I just Googled to show, because you were like, well, I have no idea what you're talking
But
about.
you own some. You own a lot.
I own several of those right there. So
Just start at the beginning, dude. I mean, what the hell are we talking about?
So
here?
I grew up calling them Toby mugs, but if you look on the internet, it's more referred to as Toby jugs. Okay, so I grew up. My grandmother specifically, whose birthday was, she turned 92 yesterday.
Happy birthday.
She
I'm sure she's listening.
she collects all kinds of things, right? All
grandmas
nutcrackers
do.
too. And I got into that. I collect the same things that she did, and I collect all my own weird
Coke
things,
cans?
too. No, I have some of the Coke bottles like from back in the day. The
Close
different,
enough.
like, certainly the Christmas ones, Atlanta Olympic ones, stuff like that. But Toby mugs, nutcrackers, pens, a handful of other things. But the Toby mugs came from her. So this woman's house, she several throughout growing up, just shelves and shelves and shelves, rows and rows and rows, just Toby mugs. And I kind of thought that was perfectly normal. And people would come over. And you know what? For an older woman, it's not that abnormal.
No.
But for a guy
Right.
who, even in his like 20s and 30s, various apartments was just full of Toby mugs, it could freak people out a lot, including my wife. My wife, the first time I heard like her real voice was when she saw the Toby mugs for the first time, because she was all like, "Oh yeah, this is great. This is," and then I'm like, "Oh, hey, this is my place." She's like, "Oh, Tim," and I was like, that was the first time I heard her voice, was when she took it all in for the first time. So I have a ton. I've got like the Louis Armstrong one here. So it's the ones that I have. I don't have so many of the big guys sitting down. Mine are all the faces, right?
Face, yeah.
And it's either the celebrities, like old celebrities from back in the day, or just like the pirate, the baseball player, different sort of professions or whatever. There's a fox hunter there. There's an old fisherman, and then the
Prominent
handle.
people in society at the time.
Right. And then the handle on these jugs is something that is a tip of the cap to who this person is. For example, Louis Armstrong, as you see there, the handle, which is just grows right out of his forehead, is a trumpet, right? The fisherman, his handle is a mermaid. The pirates is a parrot, and so on and so forth. You get it. I have hundreds of these things.
Oh my gosh, hundreds.
Can you imagine? I'm living in New York City.
I was picturing like 20. I mean,
So now, I mean, I can understand her concern.
Sure.
But she walks into an apartment.
20
and
would be funny,
wall to wall,
cute, like a shelf.
head
Hundreds.
mugs.
Yeah, no, it's very, and they watch you. I mean, again, it took me a while to realize how abnormal this was. But I love them. I got to tell you, growing up, as a little kid, I thought my grandparents were I thought Toby mugs were it was a sign of wealth, right? Like not everyone because not everyone had them. Realized later maybe why not everyone had them. But to me, it was a sign of wealth. I, much further into adulthood, sort of looked up what these things were worth / cost. Not as much of a sign of wealth as I thought.
Oh no! Like even now they're not. I mean, maybe if you keep,
They're not.
You got to keep checking.
Not
I guess.
exactly a Beanie Baby situation.
They're not cheap, but they're not your retirement.
Well, I'd love to
plan.
see like how they were made. Like I mean, just
Who's the first guy to
Well,
like? I think I need to put a face on a mug.
I can tell you. All right,
Yeah.
if you want to learn a little bit about it, again, help from Wikipedia will teach you about these things. There are competing theories for the origin of the name Toby Jug, although it has been suggested that the pot name is named after Sir Toby Belch in Shakespeare's play Twelfth Night,
Obviously,
or Uncle Toby in Lawrence Stern's Tristram Shandy.
not as likely.
The most widely accepted theory is that the origin was a Yorkshireman, Henry Els, famous for drinking 2,000 gallons of strong Stingo beer from his silver tankard while eating nothing. He was named Toby Philpot after his death in 1761. The London publisher of popular prints, Carrington Bowles. Bowles.
I think
They probably
Yeah, we'll say Bowles.
probably prefer Bowles. Issued a what is that one? Mazzotent portrait of him. It became a bestseller, as did
it was
the
a sensation.
Burslem Potter. Yeah, this was all the rage.
Yeah.
Burslem Potter Ralph Wood's Toby jugs based on the portrait. Toby Philpot was also the subject of a popular poem, The Brown Jug by Francis Fox. So this was all the talk.
Oh yeah, it was all the rage.
Yes.
I mean, it's a very English thing. So the ones that I have are made by a company called Royal Dalton, and they're all hand painted. So the different one, I have like the repeats of the same one, duplicates, and
duplicates,
you can tell the painting is different because they're all hand painted.
So
Isn't that cool?
Yes.
My question is
Very
when
interesting.
are we getting
It's so cool, Tim.
when are we
Listen,
getting
this-
a Tim Convy Toby mug?
God,
Is what I need to know.
I wasn't saying like is this still happening? Because if not, like there's such a market for this to.
I
like,
can imagine
to like start.
Open a magazine in the Franklin Mint thing falls out.
Oh my God.
And you're
totally.
like, oh, here's a new Toby mug.
Are you in touch? Like, you're in touch with the history, but like, is there? I mean,
I don't know how
to
to
comeback.
I don't know how to make it. I also collect bobbleheads, and I have Tim Convy bobbleheads, and that's a fairly simple thing. How to do one of these, I can only imagine.
Bobbleheads and Funko Pops are the modern day Toby jug.
Yeah.
Okay.
My wife got me a.
Except you can't drink out of them.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
These you can drink out of, which is awesome. There's a
Funko.
Toby mug. You know what the Toby mug that most people see on Conan O'Brien's desk forever? Both shows had that Toby mug of Eisenhower.
Okay. All right.
That was Eisenhower, right?
And
Well,
I've
you're
been seeing
telling us.
this.
You're
I've been seeing
teaching
this
us.
my
But if
whole
you
life.
can picture, you would see that and you'd go, "Oh yeah, I've seen Conan's desk forever and ever."
And like you said, there were like celebrities, in the, I guess, like the 90s, 2000s, where like maybe people were
I don't know about 90s,
not
2000s.
earlier.
I'm trying to think. I have the like cool ones.
Like, what was
I
the
mean,
latest? I wonder what the latest.
I
one
have
was.
Elvis. I have the Beatles. There's presidents that I can picture.
Yeah, I would drink out
80s?
of a JFK.
I would say,
like
yeah.
that.
It's already got the hole
I got-
in that.
I got
What
a
are you
JFK.
doing?
Oh, Scotty. I guess
What are you
is it too
doing?
soon? I mean,
You know what the wow that was? I liked it. You know what the like some of the prized possessions? These I think are still in my grandmother's possession and not mine. Double-sided ones where you get two different people like counterparts. Like there's one that is like Custer and Sitting Bull or something,
Okay.
or on opposite sides of it.
Yeah.
We should look up some of the double-sided ones, but there's some really cool ones.
okay, I see. Like you can get a 2-in-1 type of thing. Is
Yep.
what you're saying.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And
I
what's
mean-
your plan? What's your plan for them now? Now that you still have them. They're part of your life. Like you thinking about like
Well,
getting
when
rid
I-
of 'em,
no,
or
no.
put them in a museum.
Getting
or-
rid of them? Are you out of your mind? I'm
Baby Jack's
yeah,
inheritance.
Yeah, the boys are gonna get them. I was telling you about my basement situation. Once I get that all settled in, they're gonna be all over there. That is where my wife
multiple
is
shelves.
relegated. Yeah, there's a few spots I will have in the
You don't
old
drink out of them.
in the old house. I have in my life, but no, not
Special occasion.
regular. Yeah, it's a birthday type thing. But yeah, so I will get a few upstairs. I have to kind of negotiate for, but I'm trying to find practical uses of it. Like my baseball player, I keep my toothbrush in. You know
Oh,
what
there
I mean?
you go. Yeah.
So trying to just spread them throughout the
Pin cup
throughout
on the
house.
desk,
Yeah,
you
you
know.
guys aren't nearly as excited about this. Like
I'm
Well,
pretty
this is
excited.
I'll tell you right now what's
I
happening.
should have brought one.
Yes, I thought you were
Yeah.
gonna bring like a box because
I
like
should have.
when I asked you what you want to talk about, this is what you wanted to talk about, and that is the show. Like I'm a fan of this, but now hey, listen, we're getting close to time.
But
What-
wait, you didn't say what do you want to talk about, and I was like Toby mugs. You were like,
wa-
is there any kind of
that you're
weird,
into.
nerdy thing that you're into? And that was my answer.
This is great.
Perfect.
This is painting the picture of what a nerd was to Tim, and that nerdism is actually just really loving something. Just so you know, so you're a nerd of comedy, you're a nerd of music.
Oh yeah, lots of stuff.
You live and breathe it. So that's what we'll
Yeah.
ask. What else are you into? This is our and let's do some final questions. Let's go to you, Andy. What do you got for Tim?
Yeah, I need to know what's in the water in the city that there are so many people that are just multi-talented at so many things that rock. Like we've had Steve Ewing on the show. You mentioned Moon,
Yes,
yourself,
yeah.
comedy, rock, like hot dogs, everything. How do you do all this?
How do I do it, or why are there other people that are doing all kinds of things? I don't know. Sometimes I think I'm an idiot and I need to just pick one and do it. I really do, because it's so many people will tell you, you kind of pick the thing, go for it, which I did for so long. With Ludo, there's nothing else in my life, which isn't necessarily healthy. So part of it, I think, is just kind of diversifying, so that you're
Balance.
not just riding the waves with all those things. Part of it is getting old, hitting 40, and kind of all of a sudden I can't say no to any opportunity, and stuff like that. And maybe some of those other guys have some of that, but yeah, I don't know. It's too much at times for sure, and I gotta figure it all out. But I feel I'm lucky. It's hard to be, there's an audience for things that I do, right? Whether it's from the radio stuff, Ludo fans, or whatever. So it's hard not to be, a creative person and want to make things and know that there's people, that will at least give these things a shot. And so I don't know. It's inspiring.
Yeah, man, well said. And like you're doing the balance game, man. Like you're doing things that you like, and that has made you a full career of doing different things that you like. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, it's kind of like the Joe Rogan way, like how a lot of us look at like how he talks about like stuff if you ever listen to him, and he usually just says like, I just try to lean into stuff I like,
Right.
and that gets him like a guest that's about that, like,
Right.
well, you like being on the radio, you like talking about the stuff you're doing, like that maybe complemented the shows and the comedy tours. But all right, Scotty Scoop, original Ludo fan, Tim Convy here in person. What do you got for him?
So of all the concerts and shows I go to,
Yeah.
You might be the person with the most energy on stage that I've seen. How do you keep that up? How do you ramp yourself up for a show?
It's
Because you are all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, I just that's why I have the most fun up there. You know what I mean? Especially playing music. Yeah, it's so fun. I think the people that inspired me young were, I used to go see a band called MU330 from here in St. Louis. Was like, I mean, it's the reason I play music. It's how Tim Farrell from Ludo and I became friends. Was that he was wearing an MU330 shirt, and only so many people knew them. And if you ever saw an MU330, either back in the day or I just saw him in December. It's just they're just attacking you the whole time. Something about that just like got me. So for a long time, I think I was just like doing what MU330 did. But the problem is, here's the problem. I spent almost a decade of my life on stage 5-6 nights a week, all over the place, right? And playing the same songs that we play now. And I was in my 20s then. But now, muscle memory, I'm 44 years old and I play these same songs and my brain says, oh, your body should do X, Y, and Z for this part of the music. And my body can no longer do those things. And I'm injuring myself regularly. I know I'm not answering the question that you asked, but it is something you got to be aware of.
Wow, yeah. And
so
honestly,
I have to counter.
You talked about Steve Ewing coming on here, who like every once in a while, not as often as he used to, will pop that backflip. And he says that working out like absolutely has to feed that show. So I don't know. What do you do you do stuff for fitness?
He's an amazing. I mean, Steve Ewing could do. He's in incredible shape.
But I'm hearing similar trends, just so you know. Like,
I pay the price for it all afterwards.
A show I saw in 2009 is almost indistinguishable from a show that I saw last year.
Yeah,
and I'm like, how are they still doing it?
In 2009, the next night I would go do the same thing. Now I'm in an ice bath for 3 weeks afterwards. But I don't know. That's just what I do. I'll tell you one thing I like doing that I think is unique is any show we're playing, I like to be in the room for the band or whatever performance is going on before and
get that energy.
Get the vibe of the room. Yeah, I think it's so important. Comedy too. Like just get, because you get in tune with it. I really do think that. So what do? Now I stretch. I try to stretch. And other than that, I just get, it affects me, man. It affects me. Now playing Ludo or Punk Rock Christmas or whatever it is, like it grabs me like the first time I heard, live music as a kid, or when I used to crank up, Pearl Jam and Green Day and Sublime in my bedroom and just go crazy. Like it affects me. I go with it.
Nice. Yeah, Green Day tomorrow. I'll be there.
Me too.
Yeah, nice.
So pumped. And Rancid opening.
Linda's. I'm excited to see them for the first time.
All right, we'll end with this, and then we'll have you plug yourself one last time.
Great.
Okay, what do you do for fun? What is your zen? What are you feeling like when you're just wanting to feel like yourself, and you're on your off time, and you're just wanting to do that? What is that?
Yeah, I mean, my answer to that is I'm so lucky that the things I do, as we kind of talked about, are fun. I've worked very hard so that to get to do the things that I love for a living. So like I don't,
Even as I asked the question, I hated it.
Yeah, no, I mean,
because we're trying to do the same thing. It's like more of what we do for what we get paid to do the things we love to do. To where like leisure, like the idea of leisure is like this maybe becoming this old thing where like maybe you're working and loving what you're doing, and it can, like when I'm making this, when we're in here, when I'm editing, I mean, man, it'll be an 8-hour shift, like a work shift that I can't get enough of.
Yeah, right.
And like it's cool. So I understand exactly what you say. So what do you and your family do for family time?
That's what I was gonna say. The opposite of the working and doing this is just hanging out with my family, which is, I mean, they're so young. It's a lot of just sitting. We have a trampoline. We bought this house, and the people were like, "Do you want the trampoline?" I was like, "Sure," thinking we're a few years from him even using it, but like 2 years old, like first time I was like, he can't walk on this thing. It's crazy. And then he like within a week was just like bouncing doing tricks and whatever. And man, that's probably that is the best kind of recharger and fulfilling thing, is going out there, with my son and my wife, just sitting on that trampoline or bouncing around. And so that's the best.
Dude, thanks for being honest and vulnerable and sharing that part of yourself with us, because that is what like life's about too. Just kind of like being with people that you like and laughing, goofing off.
Yeah,
dad life.
Dad life.
Tim Convy. He's at Tim Convy, timconvystuff.com. What else would you say before the end of a podcast?
I don't know. Yeah, those are the things. At Tim Convy, I enjoy Instagram the most. So, yeah, get on there. I follow Ludo at Ludo Band. Tim Convy Stuff has all my shows and links to all the cool stuff, which is great. And then, yeah, come to Halloween, come to Punk Rock Christmas, come to Can You Feel the Punk Tonight? And then comedy, I'll be doing January. I'm headlining Funny Bone. So definitely come see comedy and support all my stuff. But just other local, there's so much good stuff. You said it. There's so many cool people doing cool things here, and buy those tickets, buy those T-shirts, support that stuff because it makes it makes a difference. People are trying to, especially my kind of generation, people trying to balance so many things. And a lot of them do create things that mean so much. I mean, I'm so grateful that the Urge plays, that I get to see the Urge. I'm so grateful I get to see MU330. So, support that stuff. There's something you like that is being made in this town. Go check it out and support it.
Well, this is where we'll be your hype man too. It sounds like you're an excellent producer and you care about the experience, and that if you're supporting and coming out to see Tim, that you're going to pay it back to that audience. It seems like it's really important because the way you talked about Halloween and talking about the Christmas Punk Goes Christmas, I can just tell you guys put you and the team. It's a group of people too. So
yeah,
go out and see him, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Come see it, and yeah, I do my best. I'm at least going to try. I can guarantee that.
Well, thanks for coming on Mostly Superheroes, bro. We really appreciate your time.
Thanks, guys.
That's it.
Shut it down.
Shut it down. Thanks, Tim.
Yeah.
Spread the fives.
Mostly Superheroes is proud to be funded in part by our sponsors. Mostly Superheroes is funded in part by paying patrons who receive early, ad-free, and exclusive episodes. Subscribe at mostlysuperheroes.com/support. Thank you for supporting your favorite independent podcast. Mostly Superheroes is an independent podcast owned and operated by Carrogan Ventures in St. Louis, Missouri. Hosted by Logan Janis, Andy Hunn, and Scott Swearingen. Brand and creative by Carrie Clark Design. Music by Audionautics. Learn more at audionautics.com. Find more at mostlysuperheroes.com.